Our big stories today, but before we get to that, here is your COVID-19 update. The COVID-19 death toll is now 1,870 as 12 more deaths were reported today. 403 more cases of the virus were recorded, taking the active case load to 6,971. These numbers reflect samples taken during the period November 11th to 14th. To date, 632,571 people have been vaccinated. With the first dose of the vaccine, 627,596 people are fully vaccinated. Now for a recap of some additional stories making the news today. TJ Division of Health, Wellness and Family Development has recorded 6 new additional COVID-19 cases in their clinical update as of Sunday, 14th November 2021. This brings the active cases to 357 for the island. 5 patients are currently in the intensive care. There have been 18 discharges and no deaths recorded, leaving the death toll at 106. 22,791 people are partially vaccinated, while 21,628 people are fully vaccinated, having received 2 doses of a WHO-approved COVID-19 vaccine. The Trinidad and Tobago Scrap Iron Dealers Association is planning another motorcade as it has found a way to do so without seeking permission from the police. Political leader of the Movement for Social Justice, David Abdullah, said all COVID-19 protocols will be observed and adhered to. The body of a woman who went missing was found semi-nude floating in the Guayama River yesterday afternoon. 32-year-old Rehana Jagannath, who lived in Maruga, was visiting relatives in Enterprise Chagonas when she went to a mini-mart in the area at around 1:30 p.m. And 50 families were recipients of laptops and tablets as part of an initiative carried out by the group Widows Support TT. Laptops and tablets were distributed to 50 families who were in need. President of Widows Support TT, Soria Nanan, said they decided to host their 3rd distribution event on World Kindness Day. For joining us. There continues to be an increase in COVID-19 cases according to the Ministry of Health's epidemiologist Dr. Avery Hines. He has noted that the concerning situation is being monitored in light of the state of emergency coming to an end, which impacts on the public health regulations and the 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew. Andrea Murray brings us more in this report.
Hines says the number of COVID-19 cases per county is increasing. Speaking during the ministry's press conference earlier today, the epidemiologist pointed the concerning trend.
We look at the distribution of the cases over the last 2 weeks, and we see that the areas on this map that are darkening, the darker colors represent larger numbers of cases in communities. And the trend that we're seeing is that where there are population centers, clearly we have more cases, but we're actually seeing some areas heat up more than others at this point in time. Moving to the next, if we look at that on a county level, we would note that looking at the purple bars or purple dots as the week 43 cases and the gold ones as week 44, we'd see that for the entire country, each county has noted an increase.
Dr. Hines said decisions will be made on the public health regulations based on increased COVID-19 cases and clusters.
The public health regulations become, again, the main driving force in trying to reduce risk. The decisions on what will change and what won't change will really be guided by what we're seeing happening with the figures, what we're seeing happening with incidents of clusters, etc. So it's going to be basically evidence-based, and the decisions, of course, will be made at the appropriate decision-making level. So it's going to be guided by how things are continuing to roll out in the absence of the SOE and with the adherence that we're seeing to those measures.
Registered COVID-19 team member in the Internal Medicine Department at Couva Hospital, Dr. Peggy Ann Burgess, said the mental health of medical practitioners dealing with COVID-19 patients is continuously affected.
As a physician serving in this pandemic, the experience is heart-wrenching. We daily struggle to strike the balance of serving efficiently and dealing with the pain and depression that we sometimes face. It is extremely difficult to deal with sickness and death on a daily basis. Delivering bad news is tough, and doing it over the phone where you are unable to connect with relatives is even harder. the weeping and wailing of anxious, grieving relatives hurt to the core. This is very painful for me. But in the moment, all I can do is be strong, express my sincere condolences, and advise them on the next step. It is not easy.
Dr. Burgess asks people to stop listening to conspiracy theories and get vaccinated in speaking about the COVID-19 patients who are hospitalized and not doing well. I am Andrea Murray, reporting for MCTV.
Thank you, Andrea. And in keeping with news-related, control of the spread of COVID-19 now depends on the population. The opinion of Health Minister Terrence D'Alsing. Speaking on state media this morning, the minister's observation comes as the state of emergency comes to an end on Wednesday.
With the advent of vaccines, the onus to manage this virus has now shifted dramatically to the population. It is the population now that holds the key to how we survive as a country, not only in Trinidad and Tobago, but around the world. Because prior to June, when we didn't have mass vaccination programs and millions of doses of vaccines, you had to rely on lockdowns and so on. The state of emergency, which was implemented on May 15th, has served a useful purpose. One will have to ask, if we didn't have it, the death toll would have been much higher. But we are coming to a place now where the unvaccinated have to step up to the plate and do their part to keep this country alive.
Minister D'Alsing also commented on those persons who are still displaying vaccine hesitancy.
This isn't a Trinidad and Tobago phenomenon. If you read the CARFA report into vaccine hesitancy, it is a Caribbean phenomena, it's a global phenomena. Some countries globally have attained high levels of vaccination, that's fine, but some countries haven't. And it's a Caribbean phenomenon, not a Trinidad phenomenon. And a lot of it is driven by deliberate disinformation by the anti-vaxxers, by misinformation, and the unsuspected who are looking for leadership are finding leadership in these chat rooms, on YouTube, on Facebook, and being led down the wrong path by those who don't have their best interests at heart.
Health Minister Terrence D'Alsing. President of the Eastern Business and Merchants Association, Ricardo Mohammed, is happy the state of emergency and, by extension, the 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew is coming to an end. Speaking on state media this morning, Mohammed said the longer opening hours means the possibility of crowding is lessened, but he is also expressing concern over the rising crime levels. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley confirmed at a press conference over the weekend that the state of emergency will end on November 17th.
Particularly the business community, we appreciate the fact that the lockdown will be relieved in one sense, in terms of it will give the customers longer shopping hours. And when we look at that, we think in terms of reduced overcrowding, so that the customers no longer need to rush to certain institutions and so on to get their commodities. So we will look at it in that way in terms of longer business hours. But secondly, with the lifting of the SOE, we also have to look at the spiraling increases in crime and the crime rates as well, which is very concerning for us as business people.
Mohammed is also calling for police to step up on foot patrols and suggested that regional police officials meet with the business chambers to offer further security measures ahead of the Christmas season.
All the different police station heads, we should start making communication with the different chambers of their respective areas so that we can have some sort of consultation and dialogue in terms of planning a safe Christmas. What we do recommend, however, and we have recommended this every year moving forward, we do like to see increase in patrols, especially joint patrols within the police service and the regiment, but also we would like to see that coordinated with a very good foot patrol system. So we want to see mobile and foot patrol being able to alleviate some of the fears that they will have. Just the presence alone makes people comfortable when they have to shop. And so we really look forward to seeing what the TTPS has to do with regards to crime and during this Christmas season.
To some other news now, the Scrap Iron Dealers Association has planned another motorcade, this time for November 21st. The announcement came at a press conference this morning. Here's more from Celine Bansalal. I do apologize. I believe we will get back to that package for you, so let's continue. The COVID-19 pandemic has been stressful both physically and mentally for healthcare workers. And today we understand that nurses have been leaving their jobs to seek employment elsewhere. And even though the Ministry of Health increased the number of ICU beds from 50 to 100, there was a severe shortage of specialized nurses to manage these ICU beds. Joining us now is Second Vice President of the Trinidad and Tobago Registered Nurses Association, Letitia Cox, on the telephone lines. Well, at this time, let's take a short break. When we return, we will have Ms. Cox on the phone lines for you.
News on MCTV.
As businesses adapt to the new normal, let Magic Mist take care of your
Then, oh, hold on. Mrs. Claus sent a WhatsApp. The elves are hungry. Pick up a Royal Castle Queen bucket, a King bucket, some royal wings, a family meal, a few combos, some extra delicious coleslaw, crinkle-cut fries, potato salad, and a snack box for yourself. Oh, and don't forget that delicious honey mustard sauce. It's really lashing. Okay, Rudolph, let's get that delicious local Trini flavor. Royal Castle, here we come. Royal Castle is the local something that makes it all taste better. Happy holidays from Royal Castle.
Good evening and welcome to douglAR Radio live on U97.5 FM. Hot like pepper. And this evening, it's going to be hot like pepper. And I need all of y'all to think clearly. Because in Trinidad and Tobago, we've always had allegations of corruption since time immemorial. Since back with Dr. Williams and O'Halloran, Privat, Lockjoint, BWIA, Caroni Race Complex, Financial Complex, Mount Hope, coming all the way forward. But what could be said about the corruption allegations in Trinidad and Tobago? Could be that they were sporadic. They determined or they depended on the people who were in positions of power. It was the minds of individuals. Cocky asked them to turn down that volume on that monitor there, please.
Sure.
Of individuals. Because I'm going into some serious thing. Cocky asked them to turn down that volume on that monitor there, please.
Sure.
Yeah. Because every time that door open, because I'm going into some serious thing here now. All right? You would say that they were individuals in a power position who utilized their position in order to steal, in order to benefit themselves. I am saying to you today that we have arrived in a different state of corruption, a different realm of corruption, a realm never envisaged before, a realm of systemic corruption. Systemic corruption that has been facilitated by the full understanding of a constitution that was not designed to remain democratic. It was designed from the onset when it was produced to the population in January 1962 by Ellis Clark and Eric Williams. It was designed to create a situation where those in power could remain in power and, as we say, do what they want. There were some little tenets, protections, and over the years, those protections increased, especially when opposition parties like the NAR and the UNC came in with Bastille Pandey, with the Integrity in Public Life Act and different methods, the Ministry of Finance procurement rules, the Central Tenders Board Act based on our public sector, as we have seen under this version of the PNM under Keith Christopher Rowley. Now it is quite masterful in a nefarious way. It is quite skillful to be so wholesomely corrupt. It is quite an achievement to put all checks and balances in your pocket and reach to where we have reached at this day and age on this date with Keith Christopher Rowley. It is quite remarkable. And I want you to understand that when I make statements, I don't make statements lightly. I'm going to take my time, and it's going to take a long time. But I'm going to prove my case for you. I am saying that Keith Christopher Rowley has systematically created a position that we are in now, where systemic corruption is the norm under his government. From the top to the bottom, and all checks and balances have been whittled away, eliminated, discarded, and have been made irrelevant, including the mass media, who is part and parcel of the systemic corruption that we have right now. Let me first of all remind you, Keith Rowley's mantra every time he talks, and most of you all believe it because the media has stated over and over and over that, that's fine there, Cookie, that Kamla Prasad Bisesa, the People's Partnership government, was brilliant. In every sphere level of performance where they served the people. But Kamla Prasad Bisesa, your government was corrupt. Oh Lord, all you perform, but all you thief. All you thief. And Keith Rowley, every time he talk, don't talk to the opposition. Who are they? No moral authority. They thief. The media promoted, promulgated, and perpetuated that message without facts, without figures, without charges, without indictments, without any sort of proof. In fact, many media practitioners have been dragged before the courts over the last 10 years and have been shown and proven to be strangers to the truth, to be liars, to be those who printed falsehoods against Kamla Prasad Bisesa and a government. But just to let you know, when Kamla Prasad Bisesa was Prime Minister, there was not one allegation of corruption involving her specifically ever made. I repeat, when Kamla Prasad Bisesa was Prime Minister, there was never one allegation of corruption involving her directly ever made. There was the insinuation that she had some kind of second-tier family called Gopal, and that Gopal under NP and Kamla Prasad Bisesa was never the Minister of Energy, never had control over the energy portfolio. There was a Minister of Energy, there was a board of NP, there was a CEO of NP, there was a management structure of NP, and the tendering process of NP followed the Ministry of Finance rules. And the tender in which Gopal was participating was an open tender for trucking services at NP. Yet, up to now, y'all are talking and y'all hear me say Kamla, Gopal, and the first thing flash in your mind is corruption, corruption, corruption. Why is that? Because the mass media, Rowley's PNM machine, Rowley himself, and those clowns in office, they repeat a lie so many times that they make it sound like it's true. Total nonsense, total falsehood. No contract was ever even awarded, and nobody won. In fact, it was nothing corrupt at all. Gopal was involved in that business all the time for 40 years in trucking and transport. It was an open tender. The next thing that you said, live sport, Kamala, Anil, corruption. First of all, live sport had nothing to do with Kamala Prasad Bisesa. She's the Prime Minister. Live sport was a program created in my mind to give opportunities to those most at risk. Those black boys who are out on the streets without ID, without bank account, without education, without being able to read, without any numeracy, without any talent identification, just blowing in the wind, waiting to commit crimes, actively involved in crime. The PNM with Asha Javid, printed in the Express, live sport, corruption, corruption, and Rowley repeats every time he gets a chance. From 8 million to 200 million, wasted corruption. No serious allegation. Nothing happened. Not one allegation ever made against the minister, Anil O.E. Roberts. Not one. Not one could ever be made, and not one will ever be made. But we're talking about Kamala here. Kamala Prasad Bisesa was not the minister of sport. She was not involved in live sport. She was not directly connected to Anil or to anything or to live sport or to the permanent secretary or live sport board or sport company board. Keep in mind, I'm telling you all directly because I'm coming to make some points here. So Kamala Prasad Bisesa was not directly involved. Yes, you're saying that she's the prime minister and the buck what stops with the prime minister. Yes, but I'm going into a more detailed, specific comparison between what you all have been fed, what you feel as perception by a lying mass media who pumps you full of nonsensical information without fact, and the truth, which is Keith Rowley. So there's no direct link. So Kamala Prasad Bisesa was not the minister of sport under live sport. Then you all will say, well, Section 34. Now the whole concept of Section 34 is asinine to begin with, because Kamala Prasad Bisesa was not a government of UNC. She was in a partnership with 5 parties. The 2 gentlemen that they was talking about that the UNC wanted to get out, them is UNC financiers. Them was not financiers of COP and MSJ and TOP and NJAC. So the cabinet was made up of all parts. So for you all, it's a non-starter at the beginning. Plus it went through Parliament. Plus when it was brought to the attention by the DPP, Kamala went straight in Parliament and retroactively stopped whatever risk there was. But you all went on march and say corruption. But that involved not a bit of money. Not 1 cent of taxpayers' money was involved in Section 34. But you all bawling corrupt, corrupt, corrupt. So those are some of the things you say that Kamala was corrupt. Now mind you, you say this when you say, oh my goodness, her children life fund saved 153 lives. Wow. She built 106 schools with Tim Gopi Singh. Wow. Under Fazal Karim, tertiary education gate went up by 400 million a year. They built MIC and NESE centers. In sport, they increased funding across the board. In culture, they increased carnival development, investment, diversification plan. In the health sector, she built hospitals. She built highways. She fixed roads and maintained roads. 74% of people were getting water, as opposed to 18%. And now 11% as of yesterday. But hopefully the desalination plant kicked back in yesterday, so the PNM could go up to the normal number, which is 19-20% 24/7 supply. Kamala had it up at 74%. And countless other aspects taking care of people. The sea bridge never collapsed. Tourism in Tobago was increasing and increased from in 2010, 24,000 tourists for the year, up to 2014, 97,000. It's now down at 0 under COVID, and before COVID it was down to 17,000 under the PNM. So they say, Kamala, you perform great across the board. Foreign direct investment, energy sector, Petrotrain operating, NGC, Point Lisas at 72% capacity and earning revenue, foreign exchange. But Kamala, all your thief, all your thief, all your thief. I've just shown you all that there is not one allegation made against Kamala Prasad Bisesa directly during her government. I will now read out for you quickly a list of allegations against Keith Christopher Rowley directly, not ministers under him. Corruption allegations linking or directly linked to Keith Christopher Rowley. Are you all ready? Not as, oh, he's the prime minister, and he have to accept responsibility for all and all. Not that. I am going to quickly list out, and then in detail after, allegations of corruption in the last 6 years only as Keith Christopher Rowley was prime minister, which are directly related to him, his hand in it, his decision, him as his line minister, his decisions, his work, his connection. Are you all ready? Bridgman's Charter Party Agreement, approved by him, prime ministerial approval on the phone while he was in Tobago. UDCOT 180 million first loan to NCB Global, which is Angus Young, Stuart Young brother. UDCOT was moved from under HDC to under the office of the Prime Minister just 8 days before that was awarded. And when Munilal asked Rowley in the Parliament why he moved UDCOT under him, Rowley lied to the Parliament and said he never did it. The ferries in Australia, procurement. Rowley went down to Australia with Stuart Smallpin, went and tore and procured 2 ferries and 2 cutlass vessels without procurement, without tender, without competition. Come and tell all you, it's government to government. It had nothing to do with government to government. He called government to government, meaning they take a loan from Australia. A loan is not government to government. A loan you borrow, they have to flipping payback. Cutlass vessels from Australia. He purchased cutlass vessels for the Coast Guard without any request from the Coast Guard, no audit from the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard never asked for it. He and Rowley and Smallpin directly went and bought cutlass vessels. The HDC contract that was eventually rescinded by the cabinet when it burst in the media, this over $500 million contract with the Chinese company with sweetheart deal about forward pay money, advance payment, and all sort of sweetheart deals never before seen in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. Keith Rowley was the line minister. At that time, Keith Rowley was the housing minister at the time of that contract. Direct allegations of corruption. Direct. Rowley, housing minister, HDC contract, corruption, rescinded. Direct. No left side, right side, no distance. Sandals, Tobago. Rowley was playing golf as opposition leader. Rowley went to the friend Butch. Rowley told him but to quickly put the land from Clico into the Ministry of Finance. Rowley told Butch he will get the land. No tender, no competition, no THA, no consultation, no best offer, no request for proposals. Just hand off thing and then wanted to borrow $7 billion for y'all to pay back. Direct hands of Rowley. He was caught lying by Robert Amar. Vaccines, the loan from China, no procurement, 351,000 Pfizer was available in February, early March, and he kept spreading it even though Convent Girl had it available with Ansa McCall. Then they attacked Ansa McCall. Why? Because they were negotiating a loan for $205 million US with China, and they wanted to buy 15% of that was to buy Sinopharm vaccine, and it's a non-disclosure. We don't know what they pay, who they pay, and where it gone. That is Rowley directly, because the Ministry of Health under Convent Girl, the one thing he was doing good was getting Pfizer early, and even that he wasn't allowed to do. Petrotrain shut down. 3 reports say don't shut it down. Rowley lie and say the board tell him to shut it down. Never said to shut it down. Winfred Espinay went in court and said, I never tell the cabinet, never tell Rowley to shut it down. Rowley shut it down. He lied to y'all and said, close your fridge. And I'm not shutting down Petrotrain. But it shut down. Why it shut down? And then he lied to Patriotic Energies to say to Mama Guy people to stay in power, that the labor union will be given Petrotrain refinery in order to turn them into businessmen. That is direct Rowley. No separation. That is direct Rowley decision. And what was it? Then why was it shut down? Who knows? But the same time, Rowley was the prime minister. Fake oil allegations. His good friend that he admitted his friend Nazim Baksh was allegations made by his PNM board. He fired the PNM board. He put an ex-PNM board. The PNM board was moving ahead against A&V. Rowley shut down the whole refinery and cat-spread the whole thing. Shut down Petrotrin, mash it up, and then put his personal attorney in charge of Heritage, which was in charge of all of the information, the logbooks, the statements, the witnesses, all of that to gather evidence on the fake oil matter. He put his personal attorney, AA Commissioner there. And then all of a sudden, an arbitration came. And the government lost on your behalf. But the government attorney, senior counsel, Deborah Peake says, appeal this is nonsense, and bam, bam, bam. And Rowley's lawyer, personal lawyer, lets you all wait, and then cuts a deal with Rowley's personal friend. Rowley's the head of the National Security Council on which investigations could go through. Then, and civil lawsuits with the Attorney General. Rowley was the head of Petrotrin. Rowley did not recuse himself. Rowley admitted to you in the public, that is my friend. And we see that his friend, the investigation has gone away. The arbitration has gone away. No appeal, it went away. And now his friend gets $118 million plus a 10-year brand new contract. That is Rowley, and Rowley. You see, anything you say about Kamala, you have to say something about Anil, this, Live Sport, Moonilal, some sort of indirect nonsense which didn't pan out anyway. But everything you say about Rowley is Rowley. Direct Rowley. All you had not done there yet. Malcolm Jones case withdrawn. Malcolm Jones and the PNM wasted $13 billion. Kamala Prasad Bisesa and the UNC had them in court. Rowley and his super small pin, and small pin was Malcolm Jones' lawyer. They just pull out, they announce that the case will fall. They get QC Nelson, the very same QC Nelson, who had said in a 12 or 20-page document why the case must go forward. He write an unsolicited one paragraph to say, nah boy, the case weak. And Rowley, Smallpin, and Al-Rawi pulled Malcolm Jones out of court. And therefore you cannot recoup your $3 billion that was there. The Privy Council had to say that this is smelling of disgusting politics. The Privy Council law lords were laughing at Trinidad and Tobago because they had even advertised beforehand, 2 days beforehand, that they were going to withdraw the case. They also withdrew the case against Ken Julian, the czar of Rowley. Rowley big up Ken Julian. He said his wife buffed him because he wanted to take Ken Julian to Africa. And Ken Julian, and they signed deals with Philip Julian and Conrad Enel at NGC. And I asked Conrad Enel, are you related to Philip Julian? Who is your daddy, Conrad Enel? But Rowley again. Ken Julian's case for $31 million spent of your taxpayers' money that Kamala Prasad Bisesa was trying to recover. Rowley pulled Ken Julian through Al-Rawi out of court. The Police Service Commission, we have no police commissioner. It is directly Keith Rowley that admitted that he interfered, that he lost confidence in Gary, and he interfered and he wrote Bliss C. Prasad, and he involved the president, and the president allowed the list to be withdrawn. The most corrupt issue and constitutional trampling in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, directly involving the Prime Minister, Keith Rowley. The indemnity with QC Nelson, Rowley defended it on the platform and told and had basically admitted that he gave the Attorney General instructions to interfere with a witness in a criminal case, which is the sole purview of the DPP. Rowley got up in public and defended that indemnity immunity with QC Nelson, and I'm still waiting to hear what the DPP office have to say about that. But that is Rowley directly. The DSS investigation. Remember DSS? All kind of rumors, all kind of talk about politics, money for vote, all kind of thing. Where the money come from? Rowley intervened And Rowley decided to play commissioner of police and to appoint special police from Barbados and all over to investigate DSS. Rowley directly involved in that DSS allegation and corruption and MP and election and all of that. Directly. All you getting bored yet? Huh? When I tell you it's systemic corruption under Rowley, all you will understand. The Houston negotiations. Normally you have people, you have a Minister of Energy, you have the board of NGC, you have the engineers at NGC hired who went through headhunting and went through the interviews and employed their very intelligent people who will conduct negotiations with upstreamers and so on. Rowley and Smallpin, put them aside. Rowley sat down with EOG and BPTT in Houston in 2017, and you, the people, lost over $5 billion US since then. When have you all ever heard that? If you all think that something there smells rotten, the fish rots from the head, and Rowley's the head. Delcy Rodriguez visit. Could you remember when Kamala Prasad Bisesa, while all of you were locked out of your own country, and Kamala Prasad Bisesa said, but look at this, a sanctioned jet from a narco-terrorist, indicted leader with his vice-presidente, landed at Piaco with the permission of Smallpin to meet directly with Keith Rowley. So the permission of Keith Rowley, Delcy Rodriguez, and 5 PDVSA officials, Astrobal Chavez, landed here and went to meet him directly in a pandemic. They didn't go and meet nobody else and then allegations of corruption. They went straight to Keith Christopher Rowley in the face. Then after that, Paria Fuel, Keith Rowley. Newman George was in that meeting with Keith Rowley. Newman George, Keith Rowley's friend of 50 years, started to purchase fuel from Wilmer Rumpeti and Trafigura. Trafigura brought it into Point-a-Pay, and Wilmer Rumpeti, ES Euro Shipping, took it out, and it went to Palo Alito, Venezuela. Direct. We thought it was only 118,000 barrels. And when I asked Franklin Can, it turned out to be 1.2 million barrels of fuel purchased from Venezuela for Venezuela from Wilmer Rumpeti, who is Maduro's sidekick. Direct Rowley link. No degrees of separation. NGC train wastage. Rowley boasting is 228 million. And they have another 140 million that they had approved to spend. And he continuing negotiations, so it's still spending. Plus, he forgot to add on the 200 million for the combustion system that was not necessary, and another 200 million on a failed project. Some $700 million thrown down the drain, and Rowley directly involved from the Houston negotiation to Mark Lokwang to Stuart Smallpin Young, who's the Minister of Energy and Minister in the Office of Prime Minister, with Rowley's finger right on the pulse of the wastage and corruption at NGC. 210 recusals in 5 years. In 5 years, you only have 260 cabinet meetings. 260. There were 210 recusals by Rowley's ministers, including Rowley himself, during that time. Direct involvement in allegations of corruption, Keith Christopher Rowley. Keith Christopher Rowley defended the rental and the outfitting of the Attorney General's building. He sat in the cabinet and approved that directly and came out and directly defended it and said nothing wrong with that. A repo farm, they say it's a farm, but some people say it's a bluestone quarry. There are links directly to Keith Rowley and his farm in Tobago that are being investigated as we speak. How was that tendered? How did they get that? What was the link? What did Rowley pay for all them sheep he have on the farm? Who did he get them from? Is there any link between the contractor there and the person who has these elite animals and Rowley? Investigation direct. No separation. Bunkering deal. Rowley's senior counsel, Gilbert Peterson, who we don't know anything about Gilbert Peterson ever being in any energy thing. All these lawyers jumping into the energy now. They may spend their years in engineering and at UE and so on. Them is lawyers, senior counsel. All of a sudden, Rowley's good friend, attorney, one of his attorneys, get bunkering contract. Bagatelle Stadium. Rowley wanted to build that before 2010. SRI was the contractor. I was the minister. They refused to continue the contract because they wanted $35 million for what the engineers at the sport company said amounted to $6.7 million. And that was the only money approved to pay them. Rowley and them, as soon as Kamala lost, they moved that stadium from the sport company to Udicott under Noel Garcia. And SRI, who Rowley just play golf with directly, got the contract. And that stadium built for 130 million. And now they have a phase 2. What was the tendering? Was there any tendering? Did they pay the 35 million that was not approved by the civil servants, by the engineers? And that is direct Rowley, friend. Not no in between, not no by the way, not no, oh, he's the prime minister and he must take responsibility. All of these allegations are direct Rowley. He takes selection of Tobago land to Rowley's boys at Rocky Point. No THA, no involvement of Tobago. Rowley again for a hotel with superior to bill with only 27 days to make a tender and an RFP and no international requests for tenders for such a beautiful, pristine place. Stuart Young's letter, remember? He signed a letter instructing board to pay bills at PTSC. Whatever happened with that? Police, what happened? That's why they want to control the police, so the police just do nothing. Balize House construction. All of that there, you go and look at it. It looks like about $110 million of work. Rowley claims that was raffle ticket. Nobody ain't buy no flipping raffle ticket. He was outside Price Mart for about 2 hours and only 5 people went and take picture with him. Nobody ain't buy no raffle ticket. They couldn't sell no raffle ticket. There are no audit on that. But Rowley is directly involved in that. How Balize House going up to the sky. Those are some of the allegations against Keith Christopher Rowley as Prime Minister. Direct. So when all you say come, and on top of that, Rowley ain't performing nothing. You have no water, you have no electricity, everything going up. He take your gas subsidy, he take your laptops. He had built 1 school in 5 years. He now opened 4 schools that Tim left at 95%. He cut sport, he cut culture, he cut textbooks, he closed down MIC, he closed down NIC, he closed down NESC, he closed down school feeding, cut it down from 76,000 meals to 48,000 meals. He cut everything for black people, no medicine in the hospital. And on top of that, all of those allegations directly involving Keith Rowley. Direct. We're going to take a little break. And then I'm going to I'm going to show you why we are now in a state of systemic corruption under Keith Rowley. All of that happened with him directly. But the story don't end there. Because from him, he has branched out a web of close confidants who control your money. And I ask you to think, what is the anti-corruption move? Is it better to have many people, many eyes, many ears, many hearts, many mouths checking on your money? Doesn't that make it safer? So if there's a web of closely connected confidants of this Prime Minister, who I just read out a list of direct allegations of corruption against he in 6 years, This is not 60 years I just read out there. In 6 years, and I just off the top of my head, I miss out some. All you're saying, Barnell, you miss out this, you miss out that. But when we come back, I will show you how this corrupt mind has turned into Trinidad and Tobago now. Systemic corruption across the board. And y'all, even PNM people must say, no. This is too much. We coming back. We back here. And just to give you a little reminder, because those allegations of corruption against Keith Christopher Rowley directly as Prime Minister over the last 6 years, they had some in his previous incarnations. You all remember land date? They had enough in the file to go to the DPP, but they forgot to let him know. They forgot to alert him, so they canceled the entire thing and it quashed. But the police could have reinvestigated because the information was all there, and they found enough to create a file and send to the DPP for charges to be laid. That was never reinvestigated. Land date. What about Las Alturas with Noel Garcia? Right? They had a whole commission of inquiry that came to conclusions about Noel Garcia and that Las Alturas project, which was under Rowley as housing minister. The off inquiry, when he attacked Manning and PNM, it was because a contractor did not get a contract from Calder Hart. Email gate. Man stand up in a parliament for an hour and 15 minutes and lie through his teeth and continue to lie, and y'all reward him by making him prime minister, and now y'all wonder why. We have systemic corruption. You hear the term, you know? Systemic corruption under Rowley. The wastewater plant at Beetham, remember he called a motion of no confidence in the Prime Minister and the NGC and Kevin Ramnarine and so on with the wastewater plant at Beetham, and I responded to him, and at the end I asked him, I said, but you didn't tell the population, you didn't disclose your interest when you brought this frivolous motion here, because when I investigated everything, it had tender, it had an independent company that was conducting the tenders, open tenders. There were 6 public servants of 40 years working in Ministry of Energy who were the ones. So if all of them, if it had corruption, all of them had to be corrupt. But when I asked Rowley in the parliament, you did not disclose that you had an interest in a wastewater plant in Beetham. I say I will sit down and allow you to stand up and clear that up. He got up with his scarf around his neck, he black blazer, and he blue pants. All of a sudden now we have fancy suit, 100,000 US suit and all kind of thing. What? Yeah, big. Yeah, systemic corruption. He stand up and he said, I never had any interest whatsoever in any wastewater plant, whether the Beetham or anywhere else in Trinidad and Tobago. I say, you sure, boy? I say, I go sit down again, you know. I is the minister sport. I is the member of parliament for W. Mira. I say, I will sit down again and give you another chance to tell the truth. He stand up on the gallery with the big ball itself. I tell you here and I tell you now that I have never had, nor ever did have, or never will have any interest in any wastewater plant at Beetham. Now it's on the hand side, you know, go and check it, don't take my word for it, you know. I then said, okay, and I quoted from the Hansard of Keith Christopher Rowley, the member of Diego Martin West in the year 2000 in May, when Ganga Singh was the Minister of Public Utilities and Bastio Pandey was the Prime Minister. In opposition, Diego Martin West, Keith Christopher Rowley said, and I quoted him, I had occasion to visit the Minister of Public Utilities, the Honorable City, as a geologist. I was representing a group of businessmen who had interest in constructing a wastewater plant at Beetham. You ever see a black man turn white? Well, you ever see a Oreo turn his true color? Rowley turned white, pale, ashy. He looked for the water and the glass was empty. That is Rowley. But you all went and put him as Prime Minister. Okay. Don't forget, Greenvale happened under him. No approval. Rahal land, agricultural land, floodplain land. He and Andre Montai was the chairman of HDC, and Al Rawi was on that board back in 2004. They got no approval and they went ahead to build houses on Greenvale to give Rahal money. And around that time later on, Rahal got the meal serve, okay? So don't get tied up with Rowley. Edinburgh Towers that up in the sky, that scar, and Noel Garcia now trying to pay 28 million for scaffolding when people bid 4 million for scaffolding for that. They went up without approvals, without tongue and country approvals, without complete designs, and they are danger. That all happened under Keith Rowley. So now, let me tell you why it's systemic corruption. I was listening to the Ground Report this morning. And the Ground Report with Andy Williams, Mikey K, and Lennox Smith. And on the Ground Report, there is a great man called the researcher. The researcher has become renowned for his ability to find documentation, to produce facts, to present information, not old talk, everything substantiated by pure documented science. I heard, and there is a video going around from about 4 days ago, where Andy Williams and the researcher brought up an issue about Inez Gate. Now Kamala Prasad Bisesa brought it up and was talking about Inez Gate and this Maxine King, one of these people that has been nominated by Paula May Weeks, who looks so comfortable sitting down next to her good friend Keith Rowley, right after she had a big fancy dinner in COVID with people dying all over the place. She had a party at a diplomatic center, diplomatic party with pan and Shiv Shakti dancers and so on, while we on lockdown, shut down, broke down and dead down. But let me tell you, a little bit of what I heard this morning on the Ground Report. And I have all the documents. There is a piece of property, beautiful property, in Tobago that was purchased by Alan Warner, a Warner group of companies, who is on record as a business partner of Keith Christopher Rowley. When Moonilal asked him in the parliament this week, what about you and Alan Warner? What is this business? And Inez investment, Inez Gate. Rowley said everybody in Trinidad and Tobago is his friend. That's his stupid, ridiculous, damaging, arrogant, dishonest answer. He has been in business with Alan Warner since they formed a company way back in 2008 to deal with his goat farm and so on. When he started it without his CEC approval. But this Alan Warner has many businesses, Alan Warner's Construction, Warner Hardware and so on. And he and his family have these companies, Inez Gate and Inez Investments. And they purchase a piece of property. Now, I'm going to show y'all. Follow me. There is a total web of corruption, connections, friendships, interlocking directorships throughout the power structure of Trinidad and Tobago now, that not even PNM people could be comfortable with it. Are you all ready? In this area, they purchase the land, and there are lots, condominiums, houses. And if you check the website, you'll see that they go for 1.65 million per lot to 1.8 million. Now, and all the members, all the people who buy property on this Inez Gate, you also become a shareholder in the for-profit company. So it's like you buy into the company, so you get a house and you get shares in the development. So you get profits from any further sales in the development. You following me? In this development, one of the house owners is Keith Rowley and Sharon Rowley. Okay? So they bought one. Now here are the other people who have bought houses right there next door to each other. Alvin Hilaire. Who's Alvin Hilaire? Alvin Hilaire is the central bank governor. The central bank governor is supposed to be independent of the government. The central bank governor is supposed to act in opposition to the fiscal policy of the government. But yet he is neighbors with Keith Christopher Rowley in the same, not only neighbors, but neighbors and business partners in Inez Gate Company. Because he buy a house for 1.6 million right next to Rowley. And he's the central bank governor. And who, remember Kamla Prasad Bisesa called him a PNM? Kamla Prasad Bisesa said he's a PNM central bank governor who's following the dictates of the government that is led by Keith Rowley. Remember, Jawala Rambaran was fired by Colmimbat and Alvin Hilaire was promoted. Remember when they did the $100 nonsense, Alvin Hilaire, who's the central bank governor, and he's the only one solely responsible for the money supply. He was defending, espousing, and promoting the fiscal policy and the government policy of national security for the $100 bills in 2 weeks. He went along with them because they are close and friendly. You know who else lives there? Newman George and Bridget Anisette George. They have a house there. Bridget Anisette George is the speaker. Recently, the UNC Munilal Kamla Prasad Bisesa were trying to bring up close links with Maxine King, who has a link and does business with this Inez Investments and so on. And she has been appointed to the Police Service Commission. And the opposition is saying, but they're too much PNM in this. It's too close. It's supposed to be an independent. And Bridget Anisette George, the speaker, was jumping up and saying, no, you cannot debate that. You cannot go there. Don't go there. What? Did she disclose that she and she husband have a house there in Inez Gate with Rowley and Warner also? And Alvin Hilaire, the central bank governor? It had done there. There's a lady called Ingrid Lashley when I was a minister in the cabinet. Kamla Prasad Bisesa was fighting with Vasan Bharat to make housing available for the population. And she had approved a cabinet note for 2% loans for first-time buyers of HVC houses and so on. And there was a lady there, Ingrid Lashley, who over years refused to implement the 2% loan for people and for citizens. Refused. As Kamla lost, Ingrid Lashley is on 9 PNM boards. And she have a house by Rowley and them there too. All you laugh, you better laugh when I say systemic corruption. So all of them living right there in one little family location. Okay? Who else is there? Well, Alan Warner is there. He had one. Not only he own the company and he own the land and thing. He had one there too. Okay. But here are the problems now. Well, Gilbert Peterson is also there. That one a Rowley, big lawyer and big friend, senior counsel, who somehow he know about energy and he wants some tender for some bunkering in oil and gas, right? Me I know what he know about oil and gas, but Gilbert Peterson is not one. He buy 2 of them units there. So he is business partner with Rowley. So all of these people in a company, and this company is for profit, eh? Right. Okay. Now, here where the problem starts, if all you don't feel that that was a problem yet. The average price that all of these people paid and the advertised price is approximately $1.7 million. Keith Rowley got his own from Alan Warner, Inez Gate, for $1.2 million. $500,000 less than the advertised price and at the price of the others who paid. Keith Rowley bought this in 2019 while he was Prime Minister. I ask the question now, is that $500,000 discount a gift? Is it considered a gift by all right-thinking citizens? Is it considered a gift by the law? Is it considered a gift? Is it considered a bribe? Is it considered a kickback? Keep in mind that Alan Warner, who is a business partner of Rowley since 2008, and a good friend, as Rowley admitted, just like Nazim Bash, A&V Oil, fake oil man, was a good friend of Rowley's. Warner Construction has won many lucrative contracts under Rowley's government, his cabinet, the PNM. In fact, it is said that Warner Construction was in charge under UDCOT, who is Noel Garcia, of the refurbishment, $18 million of the Prime Minister's residence in Tobago. Now, what is this connection between Alan Warner, Rowley getting a discount of $500,000 as compared to all other investors in the company who purchased lots, And when we looked at his lots as done by the researcher, his selection, of course, Prime Minister, his own looked to be the best. So really and truly, it's supposed to be a little bit more than the rest because it's like perfection. It's right there by the pool. It's in the perfect spot. You know how real estates go. This 500,000 less. Did Rowley report that? When he was filling out his Integrity in Public Life Act forms, did he put the discounted price or the real value of $1.7 million? I'm not finished there, no. Keep in mind that in that landate matter that we spoke about way back in the 1990s, not only was it Rowley, there was the name Warner also. All right, Alan Warner around that time. Now, furthermore, there's another house there in that group. The deed was signed by Sharon Rowley on behalf of Keith Rowley's daughter. And she got it, Sonel Rowley, for $1.2 million also. A discount of $500,000. That is Rowley's daughter. Can this discount, added to his discount, totaling $1 million approximately, what can this be considered? Is this an inducement? Is this a gift? Is it a bribe? Or is it a kickback? What is it?
Business deal.
And does it not worry you, as the Prime Minister of the country, that these documents are available? After I read out all of the allegations of corruption directly involving Keith Rowley, doesn't it worry you all, including PNM, that something is wrong with this man? That this man is sick and does not deserve to be in that office? It's not done there yet. Rowley also has a sheep farm, you know that. He changed the directors of it and he changed the name to Alma Ventures and so on, Alma River Ventures. It started off with Alan Warner and Keith Rowley, and I think they changed the directors now. But there is one common denominator of a director called Mr. Kai Townsend. Mr. Kai Townsend, right? This is a man who's very well loved by Alan Warner and Warner Group of Companies. He's very popular, maybe he's very bright and so on. But he's a director on plenty companies. But he has now become a director of Alma River Ventures, which was Rowley's company when he applied for a CEC in 2009 for his sheep farm. That was Keith Rowley's application and it was denied in 2009. Kai Townsend, who became a director in 2016-17 when Rowley was Prime Minister. Kai Townsend, who's also director of Alan Warner's companies, Inez Investment and others. He applied for the CEC when Rowley was Prime Minister, and the CEC for the sheep farm, which was denied in 2009, which Rowley went ahead in 2003-2004 without the CEC and got notification from the EMA. All of a sudden, when Rowley is Prime Minister, this CEC applied for by Kai Townsend on behalf of Alma River Ventures Limited, which Keith Rowley originally made the application in 2009. All of a sudden, when Rowley is Prime Minister, it approved. We're not done there yet, you know. Alan Warner, and this was brought out by researcher, and I saw all the documents. Alan Warner did something very weird. He purchased one of his own things. It's his project, his concept, his business model. And he's just so good. He's lucky to be Rowley friend. He get all Rowley friend and them, all the people involved in spending your money and controlling your money. Newman George on 9 board. Heritage, Paria, go across the board. $1 billion boards. Right? Ingrid Lashley on 8 or 9 board. The central bank governor, all of them living there. So as they knock on the door, they could have a quiet meeting. Interlocking directorships in a country that requires checks and balances so that corruption could be thwarted. Remember, these are the people who went in the parliament to gut procurement and got an independent senator to vote to legalize thieving. Well, Alan Warner did something weird. He purchased it, but he had one. Whether he purchased it with money or he just put one in his name. He then went to Republic Bank and mortgaged it for 1.44 million. Right? He paid off the mortgage and got his deed of release from Republic Bank that he paid off the mortgage. And then he sold that unit, C1, to Rowley's daughter. Now the mortgage was 1.44 million. If you pay 1.44 million and you're selling something, what you will sell it for? Especially if it's hot bread, it's not things nice. You go sell it for more or less. Is radio, you have to talk?
Yeah.
Would you sell it for more or less?
If I buy something and I sell it,
you buy something for 1.44 million.
And I make a profit.
So to make a profit, what you have to sell it for? More or less?
More.
Okay, well, he sell it for 240,000 less to Rowley's daughter. Oh, you're watching me with the eye.
She got a birthday
your
present.
Government, no, all go ahead. But Kamla and you and thief, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The story not done there, no. Remember, I just told you that there was an independent senator who voted to legalize thieving. Now, don't laugh now. This is serious thing. There's a bill that was brought by Kamla Prasad Bisesa and passed with special majority to protect your money. In other words, they put systems in place to ensure that if all you try to thief, we go catch you because you have a regulator here, you have this one here, you could report there, you have whistleblower protection, you have double checks, triple checks, you have to go through this process, it must have your advertisement, it must have independent tenders and evaluators, all the rules laid out to make thieving difficult. Rowley brings a bill to the Parliament and to the Senate to gut that piece of security, to make it easier to thief. So he removed disposal of assets, he removed legal fees, medical supplies. Now them could spend money how they want. They bring a bill to legalize thieving. Right? Let me break it down. You had a strong bill, so you had a big yale lock.
Yeah.
And then bring a bill to put a little plastic tie band, a piece of twine to lock your door. So you take off the big thick yale lock and put a thread over your money, your billions of dollars in behind that door. Do you know there was an independent senator who voted for that?
What?
Huh? How could somebody think about that? How could anybody vote to make it easier for people to thief? How? What? I mean, on what basis? Forget which government bring it. If a government bring a bill to make it easier to thief, what reasonable human being could ever vote with the government to allow them to thief easier? As we say, good evening to Mr. Victor Roberts.
Yes.
And tomorrow Victor Roberts will be here with you all because I will be in the Senate debating.
Right.
Who would vote to legalize thieving? Well, let me just tell you all something. The land that all these people that Rowley is in business with, that all of them in a profit company, a for-profit company, in this Inez Gate, where Rowley and his wife purchased a house, whatever all you want to call it, condominium, but it was valued at 1.7, 1.8, but they got it for 1.2. That discount should interest all police and all DPP office members. All lawyers and all officers of the DPP should be interested in that discount. Also, Rowley's daughter was lucky to get one too. Valued at 1.7, she got it for 1.2. Other people living there, but them pay full price, them wasn't lucky to get discount like Rowley and his daughter. Alvin Hillier, the central bank governor who's supposed to be a check and balance on the government fiscal policy, he living right next there and in a company earning profit with Rowley. Who else is there? Ingrid Lashley and Newman George, who together control 18 boards of your money, control of your assets, making decisions in your business, them living right there with Rowley. Now let me ask you something and listen, Corky.
Yes.
Who the land belong to? The whole land where all of them uniting and loving up? Who you think was the owner of the land before anything built?
And I would like to know.
I was asking you how an independent senator could vote to legalize thieving. Right?
Yeah.
Would you be shocked if there's some sort of connection there?
Must have a connection, man.
Look, give Victor Roberts.
Mr.
Would you
Victor.
be shocked? Come, Victor Roberts. Lift up that mic. Would you be shocked if Anil Roberts tell you? Because all the time, I wondering how a human being could vote to remove security of your money. It means you're voting to allow people to thieve easier. Right? I couldn't understand. Would it shock you if I tell you that there is a connection to the initial land where all of these boys, these PNM boys and independent people all buy house, and when they buy house, they're in the same company and they're earning money together, and it's the prime minister there, and it's a contractor who does win contract. I think he win the Scarborough Secondary School. They buy his own land and he get the contract to build it. Munilal asked Rowley, is Alan Warner Construction involved in the airport as a subcontractor? Rowley said, I don't know, but Alan Warner is my friend and everybody is my friend. That's a stupid answer, right? I'm asking you, would it shock you to know that there is a connection between the land and the independent senator who voted to legalize thieving?
Well, of course, if I vote to support thieving, then it will tell everybody, will tell Trinidad and Tobago that there must be a connection. Because why else would I support something as that?
Well, well, let me just tell you, the land that all of these PNM and independent PNM and all the board members and the interlocking directorships and all of them, and where Rowley get 500,000 discount and his daughter get 500,000 discount from his own business partner Alan Warner, and the man Kai Townsend, who is now applying for a farm and in charge of a farm and so on. I would tell you that the land was purchased from one Miriam Dillon Fodringham for $9 million. Who is Miriam Dillon Fodringham? Miriam Dillon Fodringham is the sister of independent senator Dr. Dylan Remy. We coming back.
Okay, Rudolph, make her right. Then, oh, hold on. Mrs. Claus sent a WhatsApp. The elves are hungry. Pick up a Royal Castle Queen bucket, a King bucket, some royal wings, a family meal, a few combos, some extra delicious coleslaw, crinkle-cut fries, potato salad, and a snack box for yourself. Oh, and don't forget that delicious honey mustard sauce. It's really lashing. Okay, Rudolph, let's get that delicious local Trini flavor. Royal Castle, here we come. Royal Castle is the local something that makes it all taste better. Happy holidays from Royal Castle.
It's time to make your community better than before. Join yours truly, Kieran Joseph Samaru, on Your Community. We'll be discussing the important issues with the important people in the place most important to you, your community. Join us every Tuesday at 9 p.m.
Or just a big fee?
Hi, this is Mike.
Professionalism.
MCT.
disadvantageous, callous, and
It's a
unkind
new
and
show
disrespectful.
where we will be
Don't tell
discussing
lies.
bills that are being debated
Don't
in
blame
Parliament,
others for your criminal
topical legal
negligence
issues
and gross
and
mismanagement.
recent decisions of
Is
our
this a
courts,
sign of
and
mental
where we'll be
confusion
giving
by you,
general legal
Honorable Prime
advice on
Minister?
issues that affect
Be careful.
you, the public. I
The
encourage all of you to
opposition
continue
leader
to
and
visit
her team
MCTV,
have mounted
bringing you
courageous
back
and
to
unwavering
where we
defense of our democracy, fighting against PNM's oppression on the citizens, our right to live in accordance with our democratic principles, fighting for the dignity and well-being of every single citizen, for equality and justice with courage, compassion, and resolve. Time to take back our country from tyrants.
Keep it rock alive.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is not just a fight for the UN from the UNC. It is a fight for every one of our citizens. Where are our independent civil society groups? If the UNC was in governance, the voices would be loud. Demonstrations against us. Where the business groups, the trade unions, the legal association, the NGOs? It is your patriotic and national duty to stand up against this tyrannical reign from this government. And that has been now unleashed for the past 6 years. It is inexcusable that now, in our nation's most desperate time of need, when our democracy, our economy,
TV broadcasting on your favorite cable networks. Everyday news is happening all around you. As a member of RCN, be inquisitive and use your recording devices to record footage and send it to us on rcnhomeseries@gmail.com. If your story is aired, you can be rewarded. To sign up, call us now at MCTV 609-4726 for more information. You and RCN can make a difference in Trinidad and Tobago.
So we back inside on douglAR Radio. All you don't get shocked. I told you all when I come here to talk, I don't play thing. I tell you, for the first time in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, there is systemic corruption from the top. Systemic corruption starting from the Prime Minister Keith Christopher Rowley and coming down in a web of corruption like never before seen. The closest that came to that was Eric Williams between 1969 and 78 with O'Halloran, his super minister. O'Halloran and Privat and all of them moving along with the lock joint, with all of that. But this is the worst in history, and even PNM people must be ashamed of this, right? Because, Archie, what you doing? Yes. Right, come back because we have finished here yet. I'm now going to show you all. So here we have Keith Christopher Rowley with a business partner, a contractor who has won lucrative contracts from the government that is led by Keith Christopher Rowley on documentation. And when asked by Munilal, Rowley does his normal obfuscation, his arrogant stupidity, as if all of us are a bunch of duns, saying about everybody is his friend. Well, everybody is not in Inez Gate. He and Sharon Rowley buy a place for 500,000 less than everybody else. His daughter got one from Alan Warner too for 500,000 less. Is that a gift? Is that a kickback? Is that a bribe? What is that? Rowley's in a business arrangement with Inez Gate officials, including the central bank governor Alvin Hilaire, on land purchased by Miriam, what's the lady name? Miriam Dillon Fodringham, the sister of Dr. Dylan Remy, who just by because she thought, making it easier to steal money by gutting procurement, she voted for that. Well, that's her choice. She could vote how she wants. This is a free country. She didn't contribute on the bill, but she came out and she was the one independent senator needed to gut procurement legislation. If there's a link, you are reasonable people, you all put it together. But all I am saying is, this whole interlocking directorship begins with independent senator Remy sister land, purchased for $9 million. Rowley now with Alan Warner, Alvin Hilaire, Gilbert Peterson, Sharon Rowley, Newman George, Ingrid Lashley in a company, a for-profit company. And Alan Warner is a contractor who wins contracts from the government of Trinidad and Tobago, headed by Keith Christopher Rowley. And from there now, the web begins. Because you all did not think that I done there. If I tell you this systemic corruption. All you thought that is it there? Nah. The douglAR now start. So we have those links, right? So you have Sharon Rowley, her daughter, and Keith Rowley, wife and daughter, in business with Alan Warner and Inez Gate. You're also linked. You have the central bank governor that's supposed to be independent. He in business with the Prime Minister and Alan Warner, with Newman George and Ingrid Lashley there, who are in charge of about 18 different boards together. And they all bought land originally from the sister of the independent senator who voted to gut procurement. This also Newman George, his wife is Bridget Anisette George, who controls the debate in the House and tells Munilal and Kamla they cannot bring up anything about Inez Gate, Inez investment and so on, when she is involved because she is a shareholder along with her husband in Inez Gate. But then it gets very interesting. Rowley puts Noel Garcia, his longtime friend, confidant, and man of business. They go down together, whether Commission of Inquiry, Ministry of Housing, whatever they do. When I went in the grocery in Alice Glen and I see Noel Garcia coming out with one big bag, I swear I see Rowley name on it down in Alice Glen. But Noel Garcia is in charge of your money and your projects, and I'm asking all of you, including PNM people, corporate governance, finance rules, procurement means the more eyes, the more ears, the more signatures, the more vetting over your money through the process, the harder it is to thief, because you go find an honest person inside. When you shorten the list and you created a tight group, it's very easy to thief, especially if all thief is friend. Okay. Well, Noel Garcia is in charge of the following: building airport, 1.2 billion. Building hospital block in Port of Spain, 1.2 billion. Building all the major stadia. Building the Red House, 442 million. All police stations, all fire stations, all community centers, the Prime Minister's residence in Tobago, all health centers, and President's House for 110 million. As I say, President House. But Noel Garcia also is in charge of HDC and UDCOT. UDCOT was moved under the office of the Prime Minister. There sits with Rowley's O'Halloran, Stuart Smallpin Young. When the first contract was given to NCB Global Finance, which is the brother of Stuart Smallpin Young, Angus Young is the CEO, that was done when UDCOT was moved under the office of the Prime Minister. And that was the first one, $180 million loan. Since then, Stuart Smallpin Young, brother, CEO of NCB Global Finance, has received over $3.81 billion in work at varying interest rates between 5 and 6.4%. Profit on that alone is approximately $200 million, pure clean profit over 18 years. But from that now, you have Stuart Smallpin Young, you have NCB Global Finance, which is Angus Smallpin Young. Then you have Richard Young, who is in charge of the IFC, getting $15 million a year, where Ewart Williams resigned for unknown reasons. And Richard Young is also in charge of all investments coming into Trinidad and Tobago since the collapse of the Economic Development Board 18 months after 2015, when Dr. Terence Farrell resigned because Rowley was not listening. Under UDCOT, the President's House was done, $110 million. Paula May Weeks loves that house. She loves it so much, she even told us black people to come and take a free tour, apply to take a tour of an old plantation house where our forefathers were hung, beaten and whipped, that we must come and take a tour of that plantation slave house. Such a proud black woman she is, and such a proud black party, eh, Maxine Atong? Did you go and tour President's House to see where your forefathers were beaten, where your foremothers were raped by the plantation owners? That's why we have a set of red man in Trinidad and Tobago. Did you go there on the invitation of the black lady, the big black strong woman Paula May Weeks, who invited Trinidad and Tobago, come and be proud of your plantation slave house. Well, it was UD Cotman, Noel Garcia, who did that. Now, Paula May Weeks then appoints Bliss C. Prasad as the chairperson of the Police Service Commission. But Bliss C. Prasad is simultaneously on the CDA board, taking instruction from baldhead Camille Robinson Regis. And then Rowley utilizes this connection to interfere with the Police Service Commission and the independent work of choosing a commissioner of police. Because under all this corruption, they have to make sure they don't have a police commissioner who will investigate and lock up all the tail. They need somebody who's pliable, who's taking advice and instruction and interested in the thoughts of the PNM. DCP Jacob, I want to say good evening, boy. From that now, Paula May Weeks also, she didn't go too far. She appointed Bliss C. Prasad and independent Senator Christine C. Prasad from the same house. They grew up together. They played games together. They played Tiddlywinks and Jacks. They play hopscotch together. They're sisters. She also appointed Senator Vera, who attacks the entire opposition and must have been the first person to tour that slave house, that plantation house, because he feel Massa Day still here. He feel that he is some elite Portuguese whitey-tighty who could talk down to the opposition, to the black and browns, and we must just keep quiet. And then this Senator Vera, this plantation house tour operator, then accepts a position on a board by the PNM, Rohan Sinanan, and he's an independent senator. Then we have right there, we have Senator Dylan Remy, whose sister was so lucky to get a sale from Rowley and Alan Warner, who are business partners. Fantastic. Is it done there yet? No. We have Smallpin, who's Rowley's O'Halloran, in charge of oil and gas. And he puts Conrad Enil, who's Ken Julian. Is he Ken Julian outside child? I'm asking. Is he half brother of Philip Julian? Conrad Enil, who is your daddy? I'm asking about 12 years now. You look just like Ken Julian. And then you put Smallpin, who was the lawyer for Malcolm Jones and take him out, in charge of oil, gas, and energy, where favors are done for Ken Julian, Malcolm Jones, A.A. Nazim Bash, A&V Oil, A.A. Kwamena, who's attorney and in that link and clique is controlling all of that money, your taxpayer money, that Rowley private personal lawyer. Newman George, who's living right next to Rowley, and the speaker hugging up, and Rowley just come over. Me and Owa Bacchanal just go on there. Them just like to share. Ingrid Lashley and Mark Loquan. And then on the outside, you have Al Rawi, whose rental was approved by Rowley for his own building and his own outfitting, who sell a Porsche to Kewal Singh, who was on the Police Service Commission and who was also the lawyer for Nelson, who Al Rawi crossed into the criminal sphere to negotiate an indemnity and an immunity with. That is your country. That is the web of control, dictatorship, and corruption that has been fermented by Keith Christopher Rowley. What say you PNM people? That's what all you vote for? There is now systemic corruption. So even if you all like to say that every government there is corruption and so on, that may be due to individuals who are corrupt. Out of a government would need 3, 4, 5,000 people if you're running it properly. Like Kamla Prasad Bisesa did. Kamla Prasad Bisesa had one board for one person, one chairmanship for one person, no family members on any boards whatsoever. But you all say Kamla and the UNC thief. Well, if Kamla and the UNC thief with that sort of governance structure, meaning minister, one chairman, no interlocking directorships, and no family members of ministers on boards, if that was thief, what is this? What is this? Living together, business partner, contractor, working with Prime Minister with Central Bank Governor, Lyman with Independent Senator, buying land from Independent Senator's sister, and President working with Noel Garcia, and Noel Garcia building house, and Noel Garcia giving contract, and Alan Warner, business partner, Rowley, getting contract, and all of them living together, and all of them appointed Police Service Commission, and new commissioners, and all of them tight like Al Rawi pants. How do you all feel about this situation? Systemic corruption. 7762. I took my time. I took about an hour and 18 minutes to go through. I think I have made my case that nobody could have envisaged that such a vile, disgusting human being like Keith Christopher Rowley will ever be a prime minister. So there's no sporadic corruption based on individual nefarious motives. It comes from the top, the fish rotten from the head, and the whole 20-pound kingfish rotten, including the tail. And all you're eating it in fish broth. 218-7762. 218-7. Evening.
Good night, Anil. Good night, Cokie. Good night to the listeners. Anil, you can't address a case like that of great importance. So what is happening? If one man to protect and save himself and suffer a nation and a country by shutting down an industry to protect and save himself, if he doesn't care about the country, he doesn't care the people, all he wanted to save and protect himself from wrongdoing. And not only that,
they know, but die hard rather suffer than change. And remember, in a little while, we're going to cross over to the United National Congress Monday night virtual for the speech of the political leader of the UNC, the opposition leader, former Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar. Good evening.
Good evening, Anil. Good evening to you and to Mr. Cokie and to everybody out here. Anil, let me just take a step back a little bit. You remember as opposition leader when Munilal asked him about that apartment at 1 Woodbrook Place. He get up huffy and puffy, you understand? A meeting with the media right after he said, and I quote, "I have been working since I was 17 years. My wife has been a lawyer for 30 years, and there's no way we can afford an apartment in that building." But 2 weeks later, he remembered that he owned the apartment, and we are going to hear, it's a given that he does not own those apartments. But you see, Anil, that is why he cannot tell Faris and him but anything. He can't say boo to them because all of them deep in it. Every single one of them deep in it. But it looks as though they're setting up a PNM retired village. You understand? That all of them now, when they retire, they could go and sit there in that gated community and laugh at us, the taxpayers, about the amount of money they thief. But Anil, every Monday morning, as opposition leader and as Prime Minister, pointing fingers at the UNC about how much they thief. Oh my God, he plastered Anand Ramlogan. Every house Anand Ramlogan had, he had Anika Gums and them doing the dirty work against that man. Who doing it now, Anil? Because none of the media has the gall and the gumption to come out and say, Keith Rowley, you're doing something wrong. And we see now why they butchered that procurement. Anil, thanks a lot and have a good evening.
Have a good evening. And Shanti Ramjitson says, 20 years now apply for HDC house, I can't get. You had to get a PNM card, girl. Hello, good evening.
Mr. Anil Roberts.
Good evening.
Good night to you and Mr. Cokie. Mr. Anil Roberts, we have all the facts and evidence in front of us. How we could take that to court and get Mr. Rowley and that king arrested.
Well, we can't, hold on. We can't take nothing to court. That's what y'all people in Trinidad and Tobago do not understand. When Kamla Persad-Bissessar says this is a constitutional crisis, when you are impacting that the political leader of the PNM can choose a commissioner of police with the assistance of the president and the police service commission chairperson, that is what will happen. Only the police commissioner could investigate the police and the DPP. And when you have all independent institutions are being infiltrated by the PNM, Rowley could do what the hell he want.
And next thing, the commission, the Minister of National Security, from a bill of majority to my. You see how they come in and block it. You see Mr. Kamla Persad coming to block them from doing the job.
All right. Thank you, my brother. Good evening. Good evening. Hello, good evening, and we're waiting to cross to the Monday night virtual. Good evening.
Anil, this is Tomato Choka, Sada Roti and Sahina. Excellent discourse today, Anil. Anil, I have been telling you all, the manual and the memoirs of O'Halloran, chapter 1, page 4. What Eric did, that is the page 4 will tell you. Remember, there was a lot of allegation just around the time of the debate of Tesoro in 1990, and we expected a lot of things to come in, and one of the allegations at that time was the daughter of a sitting prime minister might have enriched herself through a number of things, including kickback from Tesoro. Fast forward now, and we have a daughter of a sitting prime minister enriching himself. Look at type pants and what they call him, oh boy, type family being enriched. You mention a name about a fella named Gilbert.
Yes, Gilbert Peterson. He buy two houses in that project there with Alan Warner.
Right. Let me jog people memory. You remember it as a fella by the name of McNichols, it had a fellow by the name of Jeremy, you had a DPP, and you had them in a witness box and it collapsed. Who was the lawyer for that boy? Do you remember the McNichols lawyer?
Yes.
Nothing happened to those people in the judiciary system and the legal system. We did not discipline them, so they come back and they make a big tack again. As you rightly said, it started with Eric and it will continue. And our country, we as citizens have to put an end to it. The other thing I want to talk quickly, the callous action of the vaccine vagrant. You know, in April, what happened, right? The famous statement, come to Tobago, come to Tobago. In April, the month of April, there was only 100, the death at the end of April was 149. May, it skyrocketed 300 and something more. And then he bust the SOE at the beginning of June. Why is he truncating it and cut it 2 weeks in advance?
Well, we go find out. I don't want to drift into that yet. Let me keep on this web of corruption. I went through an hour and 18 minutes. All right, my brother. Thank you. And I want to remind all you, they have a UNC chairman of a corporation on charge before the court to defend her 1,500. They say you got to bribe 1,500. Right? No, all they laugh. But they say corruption UNC, $1,500, $1,500. If you're going to the grocery now, you can't even get 3 plastic bags with $1,500, right? All right, but if you're thief, if you're corrupt, okay, police deal. But here I am saying, on the website, on the advertisement, advertise for public, you are seeing an average of 1.7 million for these beautiful condominium townhouse, whatever the hell they want to call it, right? In Inez Gate, Bacolet, Tobago. And Rowley got his for 1.2 million. 500,000 less. And only have a man charge for 1,500 bribe. I'm asking this 500,000. Is it bribe? Is it kickback? Or is it a gift? And his daughter get one for 500,000 less too. So it's $1 million in discount. Where he went, Standard, Courts, or American Stores. Hello, good evening. Hello. Hello, when you're calling, you have to listen on the radio because there may be a delay on whatever you're listening to. Remember, we on radio, we on what? Mixcloud, we on Facebook, we on YouTube, we all over the place. It's some that go slow, some that go fast, but the information has come through. 218-7762. Talk to me, Victor Roberts. You hear all this information there. Tell me something.
Well, I don't think this should be...
You turn him on? Right, go.
I don't think this should be any surprise to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, because from the word go, we understand what you see when you have a government that can remove a regulator.
Boy, Cocky, you don't listen. Stand back there. I tell him, Cocky, tell me everything good. Go ahead, Victor.
This should not be any surprise to Trinidad and Tobago, because when you have a government who will remove the regulator from the procurement legislation, it tells you that there must be some intent. It must have a motive. It must be something that they want to achieve. So therefore, in order to achieve all that they want to achieve, they will have to remove the checks and balances. And this is simply what the government has done to the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Exactly. Anna Munsami says Gilbert Peterson is the chairman of TAT. Yes, they could all go and have a whole taxpayer discussion at Inez Gate Day, where they shareholders. All of them could sit down and study all your money. That is great corporate governance. Now, man, the UNC thief. Good evening.
Hello, good evening, Mr. Anil and Sokili.
Good evening. Talk louder, my dear.
Oh, this is Sandra Mangala. I'd just like to thank you for the speech this evening.
You're
but
welcome.
No water, still the water dripping.
Still no water. Still no water dripping. It has come on 9 o'clock and go at 3 o'clock. Kelly Village, yes. That PNM minister man only studying man in van. Don't study that, my dear. God bless you. All right. Be safe. 218-7762. Somebody say Shanti Ratan say pre-channel. Very well explained to the public. Good luck to all. Sharon Bidesa Bidesi. So what's the next step with all this info that you just read, Anil? Is it all for naught? Your discourse could be so excellent, but we can't do nothing with the info. Well, my dear, what all you want me to say? We have a constitution that the only legitimate time we can do anything is when we vote. And all you don't like to vote, people like to say they're too bright. UNC and PNM is the same thing. Who don't like Kamala? Who want to go Vassant? Who want to divide? Who don't like Anil Big Mouth and Shiny Ball Head? All you talk all of that stupidness and don't unite and remove PNM. For now, we will come out and we will support all and we will unite. We will support November 30th. We will go down in the Queen's Park Savannah, and I hope you will come and see me on December 12th at Debe Water Park, the car park, in the driving rally. So I want you to come up to me and say, Anil, this is Sharon Bisesa Bidesi, and these are my 3 daughters, 2 son-in-law, and we came down here because you tell me let we get together and let we fix it. Well, then I want to see you. So if I don't see you, my dear, and you must know me, I is the big head, bald head, big mouth, I go be there. So you come and say, Anil, this is Sharon Bisesa Bidesi. I ask you what we go do. You tell me come. Wherever it are protest, whatever is going on. The October Revolution began and it turns into the People's Revolution. It continues until we remove the web of corruption that has been created, perpetuated, enhanced, and put over our heads by Keith Christopher Rowley. The first curtail comes in Tobago, where Tobago will give him 15-0 in his ball head, his double stuffed Oreo, ball head, horny goatweed, floppy disk self. He will get it and he will run and nobody could sue him because COVID does produce erectile dysfunction and he must get COVID about 4 times. Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, go ahead.
I am calling from the San Francisco area. We haven't had water almost 2 weeks. And we need water.
Yes, not only you, the Minister of Water, the Minister of Public Utilities said, never mind San Francisco. It's not only San Francisco. It's Tabaqui. No. Don't make no excuse for him. He's a total incompetent.
I am from Pinal.
Yes, it's all over. His excuse is that he is just a total goat. So it's not only you suffering, it's the whole country, Trinidad and Tobago. Great is the PNM. All you drink oxygen. God bless you. We will see all you December 12th. December 12th driving rally. November 30th, we're going down in the Savannah. Somebody, Natasha Woods. Somebody says, Ross says, I'm feeling to cry with all this chronic corruption. I tell all you systemic corruption. You're correct, chronic corruption. Yes, love, Natasha Wood said, we could probably meet up to go there. Can't wait. Yes, I want to see all you who messaging me. Where? Annette Ramdoa, Mr. Roberts, the pensioners get an increase? No, only under Kamala. So all you feel election don't have consequences. And since I became of age to vote, I vote every time. Yes, you vote, but we need to move to vote, Sharon. Bisesa Bedesi, thank you for your vote. I love that. Thank you. But we had to get more people. So we had to get more people. We had to show. The only thing we could do now, you ask me what we had to do? We have to show people power, people strength. Because this dictatorship, I just went through a web of lies, a web of interlocking directorships, an emasculation of independent institutions that have secret PNM partisan clowns on it, that nothing works. And they're allowing this man to just, you all said, the media say, Kamla so good, oh Lord, road was good, water, good electricity, good gas subsidy, good food, good education, good gate, good sport, good culture, good labor unions, good, everybody good, Petrochin working, people making money, 55,000 jobs, good, foreign direct investment, good, savings, good, heritage, good, but oh good, Kamla, all your UNC thief. Really? Well, if that's so, what Rowley and them doing now, we have to create a new adjective. Because Kamala had positions in place, corporate governance, had boards in place, one board per person, one chairmanship per person, no family members on boards, all procurement. Any questions about procurement, she scuttle it and start over the process. Rowley, directly involved. I read it out for all you. Maybe some of it in here, you know. Let me go back to my first piece of paper today, you know. Rowley. Because any corruption all you accuse Kamala of, it was never directly Kamala. It was always somebody by maybe, but Kamala in charge. But under Rowley, Bridgman's Charter Party Agreement, on the phone, Rowley approved the crooked money. UD cut 180 million to Angus Young and then 3.81 million to NCB Global. The ferries in Australia is Rowley went and procured. The cutlass vessels in Australia is Rowley procured. The HDC contract that was rescinded because of corruption is Rowley was the Minister of Housing. The Sandals Tobago is Rowley and the white man who did. The vaccine loan to China is Rowley and Imbert, who wanted we get CR when we couldn't get Pfizer. Petrotrin shutdown is Rowley and Rowley. Nobody else. ANV fake oil is Rowley friend. Malcolm Jones is Rowley take him out. Ken Julian is Rowley take him out. Police service is Rowley interfere. Indemnity with QC Nelson is Rowley tell Al Rawi. The DSS investigation is Rowley appoint police. The Houston negotiation is Rowley and Smallpin went and negotiate and NGC make a loss for the first time. The Delcy visit is Rowley they went and see. The Paria fuel purchase is Rowley tell Newman George to link up with Maduro and buy 1.2 million barrels of fuel. The NGC train one wastage with 233 million and next 100 million, 200 million in combustion wasted and the next 200 million, 700 million, that Rowley. 210 recusals from Rowley cabinet. Defended Al-Rawi's rental and outfitting of Al-Rawi building, that Rowley. The Aripo farm and the sheep and the quarry, that Rowley. The bunkering deal for Gilbert Peterson, a lawyer, bunkering fuel, that Rowley. The Bagatelle Stadium with SRI who does play golf with Rowley is Rowley. I know how to breathe. Imagine I know how to get oxygen. All of that is allegations of corruption totaling over $18 billion. That's what all you vote for. And tell me about black man. Don't like Indian. Indian and black man is all black man. All you go South Africa during apartheid now, and see who is Indian and who is African. All you get locked up. White man say all you is kafir. So don't get tied up and don't let people confuse all you to come in the place and create interlocking directorships, control independent institutions, and create systemic corruption in your face. And all you tell me that's a prime minister. He's a damn disgrace. From since he was a teacher and had to beg and cajole and buff to get pum-pum. What kind of man has to buff to get pum-pum? Eh? That alone should tell all you he's a scumbucket. From early. But now see why Sharon stay with he, boy. All the time I was saying, but Sharon, you're such a lovely lady, intelligent, gorgeous, beautiful. You know, how you stay with this scumbucket so long? How you seen all the pum-pum governance, all this thing, whining with that little girl down in the thing, and then she got HDC. How you stay and take that, Sharon, with you such a brilliant, beautiful woman? Eh? Beyonce say, when Jay-Z gets slapped from his sister, people say, well, Beyonce should have leave Jay-Z because he haunt she. Beyonce say, hey, all you guys are $1 billion on the elevator, no slow all your roll. You understand? So Sharon say, hey, all your whole $18 billion cool it. Sharon, I don't understand. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening, Cocky and Anil. This is Elsie Cody, UV student calling.
And Victor Roberts too.
And Victor Roberts, how are you going? How are you going?
Good, good, good.
Well, I'm not so good. I'm very, very angry this evening. You know why I'm vexed?
Why you vexed?
Because do you know that recently Minister Bundles, the medication minister, do you know that she announced another committee is coming to evaluate GATE? You heard about that?
No, but you tell me, what gate it had to evaluate again? Them done close the gate. Kamala had the gate open, them close the gate. What they coming to do, seal it now?
They're gonna put up a donkey cat in front to take out the cat or whatever they have inside the gate, because I am so frustrated. I am so angry. Like you rightfully say, what else is having gate to take away?
Well, let me ask you this.
Let
me ask you this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me ask you this. What about your students who vote for PNM? What they have to say at this juncture? What about the students that voted for PNM and now cannot finish the degree? They shut down UTT, they cut funding, they shut down COSTAT, NESC centers, MIC centers. What do they say to you when you go to them and say, but why did you all vote for this?
Well, they probably get a bursary from Bali's house.
Not all of them.
Well, whoever ain't getting, they must get something else. They must know somebody inside. Or they must put in a good word.
Well, I don't think so.
But I am very, very frustrated because let me tell you, that's something I wouldn't have felt a few big stone for in our life. But I'm ready to protest. November 30th.
And December 12th, bring all your students down in your cars, driving rally down at DB car park also. UNC driving rally.
Some real hard horn.
Yes, well, Rowley might like that. He like the horn, yeah. And like Sharon like it too. But anyway, I understand the elevator. It have money on the elevator. It have money in the Bacalet. It have money in the Ines Gate. It have money in the government. It have money in the Cheji. Yeah. So why is a few little boat? Why is 43 boat? Yeah, with all kind of ugly thing. You know, woman might mind if it's a sweet thing you get butt with, you know. But, woman does get vexed when they see the man going with an ugly thing. And only like he only could get ugly thing. Imagine you so powerful, it's only ugly thing you can get. Yeah, there's something wrong with you. And all you vote for that? The man can't even, if we had a lime to go and drink rum and eat curry goat by the river, we had 12 people. We would have leave Rowley at number 13 and tell him, boy, no more. We have no more rum for you, boy. Hello, good evening. Hello. All right, PNM, all you could talk, you know. Come on, PNM, try to defend what I just said now. I show all your entire interlocking directorship that your prime minister is in business with a contractor who gets contracts from the government. He's a company, he's in a company with him, he buying house from him, he getting discount of 500,000 from him, his daughter get house for 500,000. I did discount by a court, I vex all your standard American stores. Who else does give discount? Them ain't giving discount like that. I ain't buying nothing from nobody unless I get a discount like that. You understand? That is like 33 and a third % off. 500,000, you know? What you call that? Discount, bribe, kickback, or gift? 218-7762. The Honorable David Lee is talking now on the Monday Night Virtual. And when he's finished, we'll cross on U97.5 FM. We will cross to the Monday Night Virtual to hear the Honorable Political Leader of the United National Congress, Kamala Persad-Bissessar. When you're heading up the east, from 7:30 in the morning till 7:30 p.m. Look left as you pass Price Mart there by Andrew Lane, number 3 Andrew Lane, and check out Fresh Start, Fresh Market TT. And check out for the best prices, the freshest of items across the board. And for Christmas specials, you will get your vegetables, your groceries. Check them out. Fully air-conditioned, full car park, just past the... You'll see also a Royal Castle van, you know, if you want to eat some Royal Castle. You don't like that greasy P&M thing. You can take some nice Royal Castle, spicy, and all the local flavors. And the pepper, oh Lord, the pepper sweet too bad. So check out Fresh Street Market up there at Andrew Lane off the highway. Turn left after Mausika. Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening,
Good
yeah.
evening, Mr. Arnold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you have two women arguing they're getting home.
Yes.
They're not arguing, they want to fight. I say, boy, if all they have all their cats, TNM cat, all they have all their get home. Or if you just kept them home, you have to go back, you have to get a TNM.
All right. Enjoy the SOE, boy. I wish I was lineman with you, yeah? Oh, Lord, 218-7762. Hello, 218-7762. Good evening,
Mr. Anil.
Yes, sir.
I listened to you so carefully about it. And when I could hear what you said, what the law association in this country is doing. So you have law for the rich and law for the poor. When somebody commits a crime like that, corruption crime, why is it the small man going to get locked up? I feel like if a piece of cheese, they come in and they're going to put him on TV, on big shows, and assaulting this man in TV. Look at how all they come in and have facts, black and white. Where is human transparency? They cannot come into this. Why our opposition leader can't take this international and get international help? If you come talking this day and day out, it makes sense for nobody. Taxpayers' money is being abused.
Okay, thanks. Yes, well, international can help. We have we constitution, we have we laws, we have we police, we have we DPP. That's the system that we have. Good evening. Hello?
Good evening. This is Siobhan that's calling here.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. I want to build a house, right?
Uh-huh.
I need some plywood, right? To cast the foundation and thing. You know I could get some plywood?
Well, there are no factory making it. Rowley say you was...
Yeah, you know, if I can get a job with Victor Roberts to carry me down library to get some plywood in the factory, you know?
You could go down with Victor Roberts down in library, but all you go get is pothole.
It's a pothole, right? Well, I mean, you can have some bitumen factories down there too, you never know, Victor. Anything for me?
Nothing. Victor, anything down in library for the youths and them?
All we only did in library is in relation to the plywood factory.
Plywood, yeah.
He keep the ply and he give library the rest.
He get it. And on that note, if you want to keep your ply and go and get something the rest, you could go to Le Grand Coulon Spa Restaurant, Stonehaven Bay, Blackrock. Bed and breakfast rates available. To book, call them at 283-2597. 283-2597 and make reservations. Le Grand Coulon Spa and Restaurant. And the Waves Restaurant and Bar is open on Grafton Beach Road. Sweet food, great ambience. Look out at the sunset, the beauty.
Finally the tables are starting to turn. Talking about a revolution. Yes, finally the tables are starting to turn. Talking about a revolution. Talking about a revolution.
From the house of the rising sun, the first woman prime minister, the first woman attorney general, opposition leader, introducing the revolutionary people's leader, Kamla Prasad Bisesa.
Talking about a revolution.
Good evening once again. I'm very happy that you have joined us for this yet another virtual where we continue to bring to light all the bad things that happen in the darkness, and we report to you every week and sometimes more than once during the week. So we've seen throughout the past week that we've gone through last week, a lot of very important discussions and debates took place. I intend to address some of the shortcomings of procedures being employed by the government, in effect to shut us down, to mute us as it did in the parliament itself, but they will not stop us. We will continue. They are on the back foot, you know. They are on the back foot because never before Have we had the kind of oppression that we're experiencing under this dictator government? I say again, do not be troubled. We have them on the back foot. Everywhere in the country, under this Rowley dictatorship, there are problems in every sector of the country. One, in the health sector, for sure, and I'll talk more about that. With respect to crime, with respect to education, with respect to the cost of living, the price of groceries, everything is in shambles. And do not even begin to think or speak about the deterioration of our infrastructure. I've said we are no longer just a banana republic. We are now a pothole republic. More potholes than roads. And in the meantime, they're living like kings and queens. They still believe we are in that colonial era, and they are the successors to the colonial masters. So what we have been seeing, the president, imagine, is having some lavish banquet in a time of COVID, when so many others cannot just put a meal on the table. When everyone else is being asked to lock down and shut down and do not gather, I saw some kind of something out on the social media where the president is hosting this banquet. Again, they are there collecting their $1 million rents. They're going on golfing trips, whilst they are figuratively and literally knocking down everybody in the way. And these are our citizens who are struggling with COVID and the economic downturn of our country. Despite the state of emergency, however, I have seen people rising up across the country because enough is enough. They have run roughshod, as I say figuratively, and a golf cart bunks on somebody, just running roughshod, and people they can't take it anymore. The oppression is too much. They just can't take it anymore. I remind you, we in the UNC, we have stood with you. We have stood with you inside the parliament and outside the parliament. And again, I say the PNM is on the back foot. They don't know how to respond. And I tell you, we are not afraid. We will not be easily pushed over. We will continue to fight for you. Let's look at the state of our country under Rowley's dictatorship. When we look at where we are today, the state of our nation under the dictatorship, we see a nation besieged. We see a nation in crisis, and we see people everywhere experiencing suffering. And this is partly because all they care about is their own personal profits. That's one reason why. But another reason is because they are so incompetent. They just cannot govern. It is mismanagement, corruption, and of course, taking care of their own. I want you to remember, members of this cabinet, members of this Rowley dictatorship, they have recused themselves over 210 times, not once, not twice, 210 times more and counting. Why? Because friends and families can gain from government contracts. I ask, does it sound like a government who cares about you? Or is it one that cares only about themselves, their friends, their family, and their finances? Dictator Rowley keeps taking away the rights of the opposition in Parliament. And they take away your rights too, to equal treatment, your right to seek judicial review, your right to criticize the government, your rights to privacy, your rights to freely enjoy your property, your rights to freely assemble, and above all, your rights to freedom of expression. The pandemic has been used as an excuse by dictator Rowley to keep violating your rights. Now people's incomes and savings have been drained. Criminals are on the rampage. The price of basic foodstuffs, those prices have skyrocketed. Water and roads are worsening every day. More and more people are falling into poverty, and more businesses are closing. The dictatorship has failed in every aspect of governance. And can I remind you, they have spent over $304 billion during their terms in office, the first and now in this second. And yet they have nothing to show for it. Absolutely nothing. They took it all for themselves. Again, I talk about their friends, their family, and their finances. Nothing works. At the same time, Dictator Rowley has ordered NGC to pay hundreds of millions of dollars in Train 1 when the shareholders, the external shareholders, owning 90% of the company, they refused and told the government from day one, since last year, there is not enough gas to sustain the Train 1. The government foolishly launched in, took your taxpayers' dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars to sink into Train 1, and then they want to give an indemnity to the wrongdoers who caused you to lose all this money. They want to take away your rights, as I said before. They want to take away our rights as your representatives in the parliament. So we mustn't question them. We must not call them to account as to how they're spending your money. But we will not stop. And whilst Dictator Rowley may believe he has a get-out-of-jail-free card, they want you. What they want you to do? Pay more taxes on your property. Pay more for gas. And they will stop spending on our children's education, our infrastructure, and health. In the meantime, they keep taking from the treasury, recusing themselves and granting themselves tax breaks, but you have to pay taxes. This is what dictatorship is about. Money. Power for money's sake. And that is what the over 210 recusals are all about. I know MP Saddam had shared with you some of the details of it, but that is totally unacceptable. That the cabinet sits, is their friends sitting around the table with each other. One gets up, left foot, they go outside. Come back in, while he's outside, their friends in the cabinet approves contracts for friends, family, and financiers. Then the right foot one takes outside, same thing is happening. It is a whole club. I have called them a mafioso. All they care about is about themselves, their friends, and their family and finances. You know, under my watch, we had reached the top in terms of educational achievement in the region and in some cases in the world. Our infrastructure was well maintained and expanded. Our health system advanced leaps and bounds. We had repaired over 125 health centers throughout the country. We had instructed that they be open for 24 hours. And never to mention, it was us. They say, what we did for Tobago? It was us who completed a state-of-the-art hospital in Scarborough. It was from us that we got the Coover Children's Hospital. It took a pandemic to open that hospital. It was under my watch that the Arima Hospital began, that the Point Fortin Hospital began. And let us not forget that state-of-the-art San Fernando Teaching Hospital. Some people say it's like a tourist destination. When you go upstairs on the floors, and you see the ocean, you see the sea, outside there, the Caribbean Sea. Beautiful, nice, well done. So in healthcare, we really invested heavily. We invested, in my term, very heavily in the children of this nation, because we believe the children are indeed the future of any nation. So here we were. Prices were lower, people had jobs, businesses were expanding, and I want to remind you, we did all of this without a single new tax. Not one new tax. They have brought tax upon tax, and they continue. Their only thought, they do not know how to govern, incompetence, and they will not take advice from even their own advisors as to how to grow the economy. So what is their answer? Tax, 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 borrow, borrow, spend, spend. No plans whatsoever to grow the economy and to manage the cost of living and the standard of living in our country. And what we did, the 50,000 new jobs we created without a single tax. And we did that during a global crisis. A great recession went by, worse than the Great Depression. All these things have happened. We have never been as badly off as we are now under Dictator Rowley. But we cared about you and not about ourselves. We protected you, and we made sure that you and your children will continue to have a good quality of life. As I say, we didn't take away your taxes. We didn't raise your taxes. We didn't take away your fuel subsidy. We never took away your rights, never. We had the Children's Life Fund. We built a children's hospital. We gave free textbooks to children. We gave free laptops. We expanded the school feeding program. All of this has gone to waste. It's a wasteland under the Rowley dictatorship. Do you know today, under this Rowley dictatorship, about 80,000 children who need food support have been totally abandoned, even though government knows that more and more families are suffering from unemployment and from poverty. They have taken us from a nation enjoying a good quality of life to one, as I said before, that has now become a wasteland under this dictatorship. And whilst all of that is happening and all that suffering is taking place, we are seeing where the government, this Rowley dictatorship, are continuing to put their friends, their family, their financiers, or friends of their financiers and so on, into key positions. Why? To have a dictatorship, to have total control. When it is in the parliament, we were debating the new nominees to sit as commissioners on the Police Service Commission. That was because of one of the greatest stains in the life of our country, when the entire Police Service Commission collapsed. Why did it collapse? It collapsed because of interference from a high official at the level of President's house when they resigned en masse, creating all these vacancies in the Police Service Commission. Rowley, in his efforts, compromised both the Police Service Commission and the Office of the President, to the point, sadly, where they have lost credibility. The PNM are used to TNT being a 9-day wonder country, and they think these things will go away. They used to just keep in shut up for 9 days, let everybody just move on, and they think you will forget their wrongdoing. It will go unpunished and uncorrected. Some may say they're getting away with murder. However, the UNC and the People's Revolution is changing that. We are not going to let these things pass. Dictator Rowley, all the recusers and the renters and the tax breaks, we are not going to let that pass. And they do not have a get out of jail free card. We will not give up. We will not stop. The Prime Minister and the President want to go back to what they consider the good old days, when after the 9 days, all the noise, they feel their wrongdoing went uncorrected and unpunished. This is what they're trying to do with the collapsed Police Service Commission. As we said in Parliament and previously, we have nothing against the persons nominated to serve as commissioners, nothing. They're sons and daughters of our soil, they're distinguished persons. What we do have a problem with, we have problems on two accounts. One, and I want to raise those concerns, getting to the bottom of the interference and collapse of the previous Police Service Commission. One, a lot of concerns. Two, ensuring that there is no apparent bias or other matter which would make the current appointments unsuitable. We do not want this present one to collapse as well, this Police Service Commission. This is why the opposition was very specific in the Constitution to ask for the vetting of nominees. I want to make a point here. I was part of the team, part of the Pandey team under the Pandey government, under the Pandey opposition, and Mr. Manning had a team of lawyers and others, those of us as MPs and so on. And we went, Mr. Manning called upon Mr. Pandey and the then opposition for us to come forward to try to find a solution to the high rates of crime affecting our country. The thinking then was that the police commissioner was a toothless bulldog. He had no powers. And therefore something had to be done to give to the Commissioner of Police so he could manage his team, the TTPS, more efficiently. The second thing that was in those talks and was taken into consideration is that the Prime Minister had a veto over the person to be appointed as Commissioner of Police. We may have forgotten this, but this is where all these things came forward. I was part of that team, I'm very proud to say, where we tried to make some changes. We were able to do some and not all. So Prime Minister's veto was the Police Service Commission then would send him a name, and if he didn't like that person, no. Veto, total, absolute veto control. And then they'll send the next name and the next name. And in the meantime, nobody in the country knew which names were sent and which names were rejected. And we said, well, no, we can't do that. They hold such important positions because in the law, I keep talking about Endell Thomas as a locus classicus, the case which said you cannot have the government of the day choosing the person to be a Commissioner of Police, because then the Commissioner of Police and all the police will become an army, a private army of the ruling party, the majority party in the Parliament. And that's one of the things we tried to correct. So we removed the veto, Prime Minister's veto, and said, look, instead, let the Service Commission send the names to President, who will then send it to Parliament for approval. And yes, it is true the government has a built-in majority, but at least in the debates in the Parliament, should there be matters that are questionable, they can be raised so the public will know which persons were sent forward. The public will know what are the concerns about persons. That was the whole thinking. It was a hybrid system between what we have in the common law and in the Commonwealth and what the US does, where they actually have the nominees coming before their Congress for questioning and raising. And lo and behold, when this debate was taking place, wrongfully, the opposition was stopped from making comments about the nominees. So what's the point? Do we just go there and vote and go home? Do we just read a resume? No, a character is not just about your educational qualifications, you know. A person, a suitable person. It's about who and what you are. What are your affiliations? Do you have bias? Are you conflicted? Those were the issues. When we created this hybrid system, those were the things that the Parliament was supposed to look into, debate, and at the end of the day, take a decision. I'm saying the government will get its way. There's a saying in Commonwealth Parliament, say, let the opposition have its say, the government will have its way. But that's the job of a loyal opposition, to raise concerns, to expose wrongdoing where it may be, to bring to light what may be hidden in the darkness. And so we tried to get into that in the debate last day, but we were stopped. They say it's not a substantive motion. Well, if that is not a substantive motion, I don't know what on earth is a substantive motion. And what a substantive motion allows you to do, whether you call it or you don't call it that, but I'm telling you the context within which this whole hybrid system was created was to go into the Parliament and raise questions about the nominees. That's what that is about. And this is a place, where will you do it? Yes, we'll do it outside the Parliament, but it should go on a Hansard record where there are concerns about nominees. And so we tried to do that. That is why we did it. The opposition, it is the opposition to point out problems. It is more so for us than the government. And there are no independent senators in this. When we created this hybrid system, it was only to be debated in the House of Representatives, and not for the senators. It's for the elected representatives of the people. We will get the names, we will debate, we'll raise the concerns. So 1 month after, the Police Service Commission, led by Bliss Sipasad, collapsed. The population has yet to learn reasons why that happened in the first place. Why? Up to today, we can't find out. This is a major independent institution of the country. That Police Service Commission, when we created the new law and the new hybrid system, we said the Police Service Commission now will only be in charge of the appointment, the transfer, promotions, and so on, of those on the higher echelons of the police service. All the other thousands of TTPS, they will be managed by the Commissioner of Police and his team. So the Police Service Commission was given a very specific task to recruit and recommend for appointment the Commissioner of Police. That was their job. And then to monitor and vet the performance of these officials. So Commissioner and Deputy Commissioners was within this sole purview of the police, the new Police Service Commission. And I say new, created under the law that we had passed in that year prior to 2010. So we are yet to hear who was the high-ranking official who intercepted the merit list at President's house. And these are very serious concerns. But we also find that some of the names that they put forward, the nominees, have serious conflicts of interest, bias, apparent bias, and in some cases direct bias, and therefore are unfit to serve on such an important commission. One such person is Maxine King. Let me share some of this with you, which we tried to raise in the Parliament, and they kept trying to shut us up. But what's out in the darkness will come to the light, and we will share it with you. Maxine King is a wealth manager at a company called First Line Securities. It has now come to light that First Line Securities is a collateral agent in the development of the Bacolé estate in Tobago, and they are jointly so with a company called Inez Investments. Inez Investments is run by Mr. Alan Warner. He just happens to be the long-time business partner of Keith Rowley. Long-time business partner. They were both, Rowley was one of two directors. Alan Warner was the other director of a company called Alma Farms. I think it became Alma Farms thereafter, but initially it was under a different name. It was called Alma River Ventures. Rowley was a business partner, just two of them. Alan Warner and Keith Christopher Rowley of Alma River Ventures. That has since converted into something called Alma Farm Limited, a new name. New name. So they have roots and ties, business partners going way back when. Way back. Rowley was removed from the company. And when he was removed, a gentleman by the name of Mr. Townsend became the second director in place of Rowley in this Warner Investments. And I want you to keep that name because there's more to come. More to come. Townsend replaced Rowley. But you will find Townsend appearing in many other companies, and we'll talk a little more about that. So Keith Rowley Alan Warner were the only directors of Alma River Ventures. Now this is the same Warner, Tobago Warner, of Warner Construction, of the Landate fame, infamy, whatever you want to call it. This is the same name with respect to the ties with Mr. Rowley in Landate. Warner Construction has now become a mega contractor between 2015 to present under the Rowley government. So in putting forward his name, did Her Excellency expect the country to believe that in selecting a suitably qualified person, this is Maxine King, and these persons will now have to choose who is the next commissioner, did she just coincidentally select someone with such close ties to Rowley and his longtime business partner, Alan Warner? This is Maxine King. Her Excellency must explain the criteria and justification for selecting Maxine King to sit on the Police Service Commission. The opposition maintains, given the President's unwillingness to answer questions, serious questions, over alleged political interference leading to the collapse of the Police Service Commission, Excellency must not proceed further until we can build that public trust, restore public trust. So that's a serious concern we have. Our independent institutions are under attack from this Rowley dictatorship. And to the unbiased observer, this attack seems to be sided, aided and abetted by the office of the President, none other than the office of the President. So two of the highest officers in the land have serious questions, the office of the President and the Prime Minister. So we will go forward because now we have concerns now about the Speaker of the House. Was the Speaker complicit in her rulings when we were debating the nominees for the Service Commission? Was she complicit in hiding and preventing matters of grave concern being raised in that Parliament? I say to the Speaker, last week, the opposition attempted to raise questions when we were debating the nominees about several of the nominees, but I come back again to Maxine King, about connections between Maxine King to Rowley's best friend and business partner, Alan Warner. The Speaker prevented Dr. Monilal from speaking about Alan Warner's development called Inez Investments. So Inez is a very popular name for Mr. Warner because that Mr. Warner from Tobago, I understand it may have been a close relative of his, so he has several companies named after it, and I'll show you something. Whoops. We have a file, Mr. Warner, and I'm putting you on notice. We do have a file. I can't go into all of this today, but we will go into all of it in due course. Mr. Alan Warner, you know what happens in the dark will come to light. So we do have this file from Mr. Warner. Thank you. And here we are now. The Speaker prevented Dr. Monilal from speaking about his development called Inez Investments. I want to ask the Speaker of the House, did you willfully prevent Dr. Monilal from speaking about Alan Warner and Inez Investments because you are conflicted? Does your husband, Newman George, have $1 million townhouse in Warner's development known as Inez Gate? Is Mr. Warner the favored contractor and designated real estate provider for the P&M hierarchy? I ask again, Honourable Speaker, why did you stop the opposition from raising serious concerns which we were entitled to do about your nominees, about the President's nominees in the Parliament? I ask again, does your husband, Newman George, own a townhouse in Inez Gate, it's called? That company is called Inez Gate. Can you imagine? What an irony. Inez Gate. This is a folder on Inez Gate, which I'll share with you, not today, but in due course. What's happening in the dark will come to light. So this is the folder, and I put you on warning. And do not go in the company's registry or in the land's registry to delete any records, because we already have screenshots of all those records. I will speak to you more about this. So we have Alan Warner, we have Inez Gate, very thick folder I will share with you. So Madam Speaker, again I ask, does your husband, Newman George, own $1 million townhouse, more than $1 million, in Warner's development, Inez Gate in Tobago? And is Alan Warner the favored contractor and designated real estate provider for the P&M hierarchy? So I'm asking tonight, and I'm asking Mr. Archie and Mr. Kivan to show you some photos. These photos show 46 townhouses in Shervan in Tobago. They are, many people own them. Mr. Rowley, I'm putting you on notice too. This is your file. I'm putting you on notice as well, Mr. Rowley. And many others with respect to Inez Gate, okay? So there are the photos on the screen and of the townhouses, and I'll speak to you more about them. In the meantime, our question goes to the Speaker of the House. And Madam, did you declare it in your integrity forms? Tell us, did you declare the ownership of your spouse, Mr. Newman George, in one of these townhouses that we're showing up on the screen? Did you declare that to the Integrity Commission? And we'll find out, you know, if we have not already done so. I'm sure we will know because the Form B, and this is where the Attorney General fell into error when we were speaking last time, saying we disclose somebody leaked. That wasn't leaked. Every public official, your Form B can be examined by members of the public, and we have done so with many of these officials, and we'll share the searches with you. So here we are. Alan Warner of Landed fame has become a mega contractor, as I told you. Alan Warner and Keith Rowley have many questions to answer. I have a lot more information regarding Warner and other contracts and business dealings under the Rowley government over the last 6 years, and in the coming days, we will deal with it. I also want to put on notice another friend of Keith Rowley. His name is Thackeray. This is another of the Prime Minister's best friends. He seemed to have quite a few of those. I will deal with Thackeray on another day. In the meantime, he should stop complaining and continue building and breaking and rebuilding barbecue pits and goat pens for his best friend Keith Rowley. So, Mr. Thackeray, this is a file we have on you too. What happens in the dark will come to light. So they all have very serious questions to answer, and we will continue to expose them in the days and weeks to come. My colleagues have been speaking, and I'm sure they will continue to speak on the failed COVID propaganda team. I will just add to their words to say, you know, it is really a horrendous state of affairs and a place to be, and just because of the mismanagement of the Rowley dictatorship and their failed propaganda team that we are in the situation we are today. But my colleagues will deal with that, and I want to talk a bit about the ending of the SOE. On Saturday, the Prime Minister, at his weekly buffing session, Dictator Rowley, he blamed the citizens of our country for the rise in COVID infections. So according to Dictator Rowley and P&M logic, when infections are low, the country should praise him, applaud him. But when infections are high, guess what? Blame the public, blame people out there and not them. What about when he got infected? Who is he blaming for that? He has nothing but contempt for the people of our country, suffering under the pandemic, and made worse by his incompetent, perhaps even, some may say, criminal mishandling of the pandemic. Now, Dictator Rowley says the government will be coming to Parliament to end the SOE on Wednesday the 17th, 2 weeks before the date it is set to expire. I want to say to you, Mr. Rowley, ending the SOE is not some kind of gift you're giving to the people of our country. Stop demanding people thank you for giving them the freedoms that you took away, freedoms that were rightfully theirs. They do not belong to you. Dictator Rowley knows we in the opposition were never going to support his continued trampling of individual rights and freedoms. There was absolutely no justification so to do. And therefore, when you come to Parliament on Wednesday, you better come and tell us how this SOE helped to deal with the situation that you described. You talked about trying to contain COVID, but instead what happened? The numbers went up. You talk about using the SOE for vaccinations. Did that happen? You have to account to the population. Don't just come and say, clap me, you know, look, I'm giving you back. I'm taking away the SOE before time. And tell us the truth. The reason you're removing the SOE is why? You want to campaign in Tobago. That's what this is about. It's a political tool. You're using this SOE as a political tool. With 2 weeks to go, I'm saying the only reason he wants to lift it is so he could campaign in Tobago. And guess what? He knows they are in trouble in Tobago. The polling is showing that they are in trouble for the elections coming up in Tobago. And so take away SOE, go tramperize, do everything, anything. You did it before. Remember the Easter when he opened up the country? Everybody come to Tobago, man, come. What do you care? You do not care. It certainly can't be for anything else. This early removal of the SE, just a couple of days to go, it would have expired on its own. Where is the science in your decision? Come and tell us. Where is the science in the decision? You talk all the time you're guided by the science. You insist that your government is following the science and dealing with COVID. How does this make any sense? You don't care about ending COVID and saving lives and livelihoods. What you do care about now is saving your own skin from a cocktail in Tobago. He knows the people of Tobago are fed up with him. In the last THE election, Mason Hall kicked out Rowley and the PNM. This time, all of Tobago may well kick out dictator Rowley and the PNM. Come Wednesday in Parliament, we will expose Rowley's failed SOE for what it is. So it's a serious matter. This is not to be taken lightly. Come and tell us how this SOE over all this time, all these lockdowns, what benefit did you get? Because I can see none. And therefore do not come looking for gratitude because you are now deciding to remove this state of emergency and the curtailment of all rights and freedoms of citizens. Just for a moment, I will speak about Imbert's Revenue Authority. I know my colleagues have spoken. I just want to endorse what they've said and to make it very clear, this Revenue Authority that they're trying to set up, the TTRA, we debated last day in Parliament. We shared our views. I know my colleagues over the weekend shared their views on it. It is totally unconstitutional. It is an assault on the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago. It is an assault on the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And we do not support it. Now, strangely enough, in Parliament last day, we were debating this. And they just shut down the debate. After I had spoken, and the AG came with all his lies as usual, and sound and fury and with no substance, and Saddam responded in the middle of the contribution of Mr. Brian Manning. He was like taken aback. He was reading, and in the middle of a sentence, they got up and adjourned the Parliament. Why? Because they knew we were not going to support it, because they know it is wrong. I think they do know it is very, very wrong. It is a total breach of the Constitution, and not just the Section 4 and 5 human rights. It is in breach of the entire structure of our Constitution. And therefore, it doesn't just require 3/5. That may very well be legislation requiring a 2/3 or a 3/4, because you're tampering. It's a fundamental change to the structure of governance, to the structure of the Constitution, and to the structuring and workings of a democracy to which we subscribe. So we'll have another day, they will have another day, but at the end of the day, it will be the courts of Trinidad and Tobago who will decide on this TTRA. And one of the things they're pushing this so hard, I know last Wednesday, when they said the House is now adjourned to Friday, and we'll be dealing with the TTRA, Mr. Emmett said, yes, let's get this over with. I looked at him and I said, Minister, you'll get it out of here, but it will go to the courthouse. It is not going to stand up in a court of law. So I serve you notice on that again. And as I close here tonight, I want to thank you all again for joining us. It's always nice talking with you. We get that energy from you, even though it's through the cameras. But sometimes I can feel the spirituality and the energy through the camera. I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support. We in the UNC, our great party, we thank you. And we commit to you, in the face of this dictatorship, this destruction of our economy, destruction of livelihoods, destruction of lives, destruction of rights and freedoms, destruction of our country all across the nation. We continue to see the vast number of persons who have taken to the streets to fight for their democratic rights and for our republic. Persons have taken to the streets after this dictator Rowley has failed to deliver on the most basic responsibilities of a government. Imagine in this year 2021, citizens must protest for pipe-borne water or for a simple passable road. But I tell you, and I commit, the people's revolution will continue until good governance and democracy are rebuilt and restored to our great nation. In this regard, we continue with the People's Revolution activities throughout the country. And I want to ask you to join us on Sunday, 12th December, for a People's Revolution rally. We look forward to all of us joining hands together, voices together, hands and feet together. We must fight this dictatorship. We must overcome, and we will. I thank you, and God bless you all. God bless Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you very much.
Don't you know, they're talking about a revolution. It sounds like a whisper. Don't you know, they're talking about a revolution. It sounds like a whisper. Don't you know, they're talking about a revolution. It sounds like a whisper. 'Cause finally the tables are starting to turn, talking about a revolution. Yes, finally the tables are starting to turn, talking about a revolution.